Good morning and welcome to our community meditation. Thank you for joining us as we connect in consciousness. My name is Marilyn Hart and I'm your practitioner for the day. Please take a moment and silence your cell phones so that we may have an uninterrupted experience together. This meditation is a blend of spoken words and silence accompanied by some beautiful music. It will last approximately 15 minutes. Meditation brings harmony into our lives and our affairs. It guides us to the here and now as we move through enlightenment, wisdom, peace, and joy. This is your time to simply be. As I quiet my mind and speak, I recognize the joy is a state of mind. It is also given, present, and available within me and within every individual here and those who are not. I am expanding my joy and freedom by my own will and making use of it wholeheartedly. There is a great joy and peace in simply just being. Like those quiet times alone, that walk on the beach, an early morning meditation, letting your words flow as you write into your journal. Or sitting on the edge of a cliff, surrounded by the beauty of all things created by the divine presence I call God. Allow your consciousness to remain open and turn your attention to your breathing. don't have to change your breath, just focus on how it happens. Feel the air gently filling your nostrils, calmly escaping as you exhale. For every moment in your life, you are continuously breathing in and out, which is one of the pure essence of our daily routine. And as you sit in the silence of breathing, relax into thoughts of gratitude for being able to do this simple task. For it is in the stillness that there is joy. For this is my birthright, to be filled with joy. Knowing that it is within me, I invite my joy to expand and fill my mind, body, and soul as it radiates throughout my life. As I continue to contemplate, I realize one universal being, the one mind, is always moving me forward to my true life. My true being is love, peace, wisdom, freedom, and joy. And right here and right now, I feel that deep sense of spirituality, knowing that God made us in His image and likeness. As I unite myself With this consciousness of positive thinking, I let these words manifest through me with gratitude of love. I am sustained by the power and presence of infinite intelligence because all I see, hear, feel is an expression of love, which is the source of all creation in the universe. And with my heart open wide, I experience true peace of mind and a life of total joy. I appreciate the love that flows freely from my body as it reflects the positive energy of connection to oneness. And with this abundance of love, which is all around me and an infinite supply, the more I feel gratitude for all that I have, opens me up to receive more. Today, I am free to choose joy. I accept it and I embrace it. There is no one way to experience joy. It is a path with many avenues, turns, and destinations. I am the energy of joy that flows from within me and all things. And as I breathe in all possibilities, I know that I am that unique, created individual, and that power and presence of God is within me always. As I walk my own path, I know that I'm not alone, and there is nothing outside of me that can give me the joy I desire, want, or need. The divine presence is clearing the way of all obstacles so that I can open my heart to all that it is and has in store for me. I am so grateful. As I make my mark in this lifetime, I will not let anything stand in my way. It is my birthright to experience peace and total joy. Therefore, I affirm that every step of my way is guided with joy as I enter into the fulfillment of life. And so it is. Namaste. Now let's bring our awareness back to the room as we energize with a joyful heart. Thank you. Thank you this morning. Thank you, everyone, for this morning and joining me here for meditation. Our celebration service will begin at 10 a.m. and welcome.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real with Reverend Laura. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real with Reverend Laura.
This is Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Las Vegas. At CSL Greater Las Vegas, it is our mission to inspire spiritual discovery through community connection, exploration, and celebration. This mission supports the all-inclusive vision of Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide, in which we envision a world that works for everyone and all of creation.
Present with us today. I'll let you guys get into your seats here, and we're going to kick this off with a little bit of music. Our vocalist for the day is David Villela. He is one of the headliners at Vegas the Show, so we are so blessed to have him here with us in our presence. So I'm going to invite David up, and he's going to start you off with some singing. We're going to do a little meet and greet. At the end of the meet and greet, when you hear the music stop, pretend it's like musical chairs and find a seat. All right, turn it over to David.
Good morning, friends and family. If you're able and willing, please stand so we can get this started. And if you know the words, please sing along. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. What's it gonna be? It's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. Yes, I can make it now, the pain is gone. And all of the bad feelings have disappeared. Look, there's the rainbow I've been praying for. Oh, it's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue sky. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue sky. Blue sky. Blue skies. One more time, come on. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. What is gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day? It's gonna be what? It's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. Take a moment and say hello to your neighbor.
Yeah, there's plenty of seats. You don't have to worry about losing a seat, but you do have to find a seat. Plenty of chairs here today. Before we get into our service, I want to take a moment and acknowledge a great loss to our community in the form of, let's see if I can do this today without crying. I couldn't yesterday. In the form of Bobby Williams, one of our practitioners. He sat here in the front row last Sunday with us, and then on Monday he made his transition. And we had his service yesterday, and what a beautiful celebration of life. I've never attended a memorial service that was so full of people and full of so much love. To see a life so well lived and a man so well thought of. He'd been in this community for 82 years, and so you can imagine all of the lives that he had touched. Judy just told me this morning that Las Vegas Meadows community, where we are right now, was one of his first customers as a plumber. And so the ground that we are on, Bobby has his hands in. It's just amazing. I've got some beautiful flowers up here in tribute of Bobby here today, and so Judy and her family are here with us as well, and so we are just overwhelmed with joy in the life that was Bobby Williams, and knowing that as we believe that life is eternal. As we say in our we believe statements, we believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. So we know that he's even bigger and better in heaven or wherever it is that he happens to choose to go to next. Bobby is absolutely a blessing wherever he goes. And so I know all of our lives were touched by it, and I just wanted to acknowledge that and honor him today. So thank you, Bobby. So we're going to start with our invocation here this morning. We have our practitioner of the day, our platform practitioners, Marilyn Hart. Marilyn is Director of Programming for Clark County School District at Vegas PBS, and she gave that beautiful meditation this morning. We also have two practitioners sitting in High Watch. I'd like to introduce them. We have Kelly Capsar, who is a cranial sacral therapist and a guide and a spiritual counselor and so much more. And we have over here Christine Page, who is a teacher and a behavior specialist with the Clark County School District. And so we honor their service, plus we have many of our other practitioners. You can see them by their stoles, recognize them by their stoles here today. So they will be in service throughout the day too. So I'm going to invite Merlana up as we settle into a more contemplative time of our service.
Good morning, once again. Let's start off, and I'll read off the affirmation for today. My presence is uplifting, joyful to others. My presence is uplifting and joyful to others. Loving Spirit, as we go within on this beautiful day, I know that there is only one mind, one divine presence, creator of all things in the universe, and that one I call God. For God is the energy we breathe, the creativity that guides us through the celebration of joy and a deeper awareness of infinite wisdom. For I know what God is, I am. For God is the source of my creation, and I am truly grateful. So as we come together for this message and song, I welcome into this moment the divine infinite spirit, knowing we are deeply connected soul to soul as one. And yet knowing that creativity that makes us all individuals and unique is expressed in everyone with hugs, smiles, and embraces. So I celebrate with a joyful heart, with anticipation of this service today, knowing we come together to feel the presence of God within us. And as I anchor this awareness and gratitude, I am so very grateful for all those who are here today and those who are not. It is the true reflection of God that guides us into this moment of truth, love, and light. So with a joyful heart and embracing the divine spirit within each and every one of us, it is done. And so it is.
Here I am, a vessel to be used. Whatever spirit needs of me, I will be, I will be, I will be. Here I stand. My heart is here to serve. Wherever love is leading me, I will go, I will go, I will go. Here I am, a vessel to be used. Whatever spirit needs of me, I will be, I will be, I will be. Here I stand. My heart is here to serve. Wherever love is leading me, I will go, I will go, I will go. Whatever spirit needs of me, I will be, I will be, I will be.
Wow. Always one of my favorite songs, and what a rendition of it. Thank you so much. So this month we are talking about joy. Joy is part of our theme for 2023. Our overarching theme is building a community, and then we looked at what qualities were present in a successful community, and one of those is joy. And so this month we're focusing on that. And I'm using a book called The Book of Joy, which is written by Douglas Abrams, but it's an account of the Archbishop Desmond Tutu and His Holiness the Dalai Lama spending a week together at the Dalai Lama's compound in India for his 80th birthday. And it's quite amazing. If you ever have an opportunity to read it or listen to it, I bought the Audible version of it first, and so listening to it in the car, I was laughing like crazy, listening to these two elderly gentlemen cut up all day long with each other. It was quite a wonderful thing. But in this book, they talk about the 8 pillars of joy. And last week, I talked about the first 2, perspective and humility. Those are the first 2. They divide their 8 pillars of joy into qualities of the mind and qualities of the heart. And so the qualities of the mind are perspective, humility, humor, and acceptance. And the qualities of the heart are forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity. And so this month I'm taking a look at those qualities and seeing what's in there for us to understand about each one of those things. And so this week happens to be humor and acceptance. And I thought we would have a little fun with it today. So you may know that Friday is St. Patrick's Day, so I'm going to throw a little Irish in today for you, so get ready for it. I think I might be making the Leadership Council a little nervous later on, but that's okay. So humor. Humor, like the word humility, comes from the Latin word humus, which means of the earth. And so humor, humility, those are both traits that ground us and get us back in touch with our roots and our centeredness in this world. If we practice humility, we get away from thinking that we're all that in a bag of chips, and we get back to understanding, that I have my own self do nothing. It's spirit within me that's doing the work that's happening here through me. And so as we begin to develop that humility and so forth, one of the things that naturally leads out of that is the ability to laugh at ourselves, the ability to make fun of ourselves because of some of the silliness that we do, some of the traits that we have, some of the qualities, just to begin to look at laughing at ourselves. Sometimes it's self-deprecating humor, and that's okay too. Sometimes it's like, okay, this is me, this is what I'm doing, and you know what? Darn it, it's funny. And so to begin to be able to look at that and to laugh at ourselves is one of our greatest gifts. In the book, Desmond Tutu says this about laughing at yourself. He says, learn to laugh at yourself. It's really the easiest place to begin. It's all about humility. Laugh at yourself and you won't be so pompous and serious. Now, this is a man who's the Archbishop of South Africa, okay? No pompous and no seriousness. If you start looking for the humor in life, you will find it. If you stop asking, why me, and start recognizing that life happens to all of us, it'll make things easier, including your ability to accept others and accept all that life can bring. Humor leads us into acceptance, and so that'll be the second pillar that we talk about today. It can actually be a way of getting ourselves back into just accepting what is happening for us. Humor is one of those, it's like a pressure valve. I kind of think of it like that, a little thing on top of a teapot, and when the pressure builds so much, it's got to come up, and of course it whistles on a teapot, but it's like there's that release of humor. How many of you have ever hurt yourself and laughed? The whole thing with your funny bone, banging your elbow on something. And what do? We laugh about it because we're releasing that energy. There's like all of a sudden this intense energy of the pain, and it has to be released some way. And one of the ways that we often do that is by laughing, letting that pressure off, letting that steam release. Humor can be a powerful tool for managing our stress and our anxiety. Find something funny to read, find somebody funny to listen to. Whatever it is that you find joy in and humor in, find those things to do when you're under stress, when you're under anxiety. Humor allows us to accept the unexpected. So oftentimes these unexpected things happen in our lives, and we're like, well, what do we do with this? But if we can learn to make fun of it and learn to look at it in a lighter way, then we can begin to accept it. And again, that helps manage some of those stressors that we have when we are feeling uncertainty. The other thing that the Archbishop talks about is how humor allows us to speak truth to power in a way that people can hear. So for instance, he gives an example of telling the story about people with big noses and people with small noses. And he, of course, has a very large nose. And so as he's telling this story and laughing at himself for his physical feature on his face and so forth, he's actually relating a story about prejudice. And people in the audience actually begin to get an understanding of what he's talking about, but he doesn't ever have to call out that there's prejudice happening here, because he can do it through telling a funny story, a humorous story. He says that it gives you the ability to ignore the severity, but a way to speak truth that others can hear. And so, we often have these difficult situations where we have to have hard conversations with people. And sometimes if we can find a little place for humor in it, and oftentimes, like I said, if we turn it towards ourselves, then the other person doesn't feel like we're putting them down. And we can laugh at ourselves and use ourselves as examples in the situation, then that begins to give the other person a place to feel similar feelings. Because they realize that, if you've got it, they've got it too. Humor can be very cruel. We've all heard those jokes that are just horrific. And we've often found ourselves laughing at them in spite of the fact that they are horrific. But humor can also be a powerful tool to help us move through things together. So as I said, this is coming up on St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is the day that everybody gets to say they're a little bit Irish. So we're going to do a little fun with St. Patrick's Day. You may know some of these humorous jokes that the Irish have. They are actually known for their humor. But one of the things that I really love about Irish humor is a thing called a limerick. So, limericks, I used to teach a poetry unit to my students when I was teaching school, and that was one of the things that they had to write. They had to write several different kinds of poems, but I always made them write a limerick too. So in case you're not sure what a limerick is, I'll give you an example here. The limerick packs laughs anatomical into a space that is quite economical. But the good ones I've seen seldom are very clean, and the clean ones so seldom are comical. We can find different ways of bringing humor into our lives. We can do it through different forms of humor like this. We can go to places where, Las Vegas happens to be very fortunate to have a plethora of comedians doing shows here. There's so much humor that you can find on television, books that you can read. I love to read an author who's got a quick wit. I just think that's one of the best things that's ever out there, is if an author can turn that phrase and make me laugh while I'm reading their book, I think that's masterful. So, humor can help us find more joy in our life, but so can the practice of acceptance. Now, acceptance is not resignation or defeat. Acceptance is a quality that brings to you a sense of peace. It's that phrase, and that phrase has been often overused. It is what it is. Sometimes people will say that to me, and I'm like, it kind of irritates me when they say it, because I'm like, yeah, well, I don't want it to be what it is. But it is what it is. This is when we can learn to look at something and say, okay, this is what I'm faced with right now. What do I do with this? How do I begin to accept it? When we're faced with difficulties, we often want to rail against them. We want to struggle. We want to fix it. We want to fight against it. We really want to do anything possible to have that not be our experience. But if we accept it, and we accept that we are not able to solve the problem right now in the space that we're in, that gives us control over our thoughts and feelings. If I can begin to say, okay, this is what it is, this is what's happening for me right now, what is here for me, instead of asking that question, why is this happening to me, I ask the question, what is here for me? And I can begin to see a clearer picture of how I can adjust my thoughts and feelings and have a different experience in this situation. The situation is what it is. It's happening. And there are times in our lives when we cannot do anything about that. But if we can begin to accept it and say, okay, what is here for me to know? Where am I to grow? What kind of things are here for me in this situation? Then I begin to have control over how I feel about it, my thoughts and my feelings around it. This is where one of my favorite practices, it's a Buddhist practice called metta, M-E-T-T-A. In English, we call it loving kindness. And this practice of loving kindness is very powerful in allowing us to get to that place of acceptance. In the practice of loving kindness, we first turn the loving kindness towards ourselves. And there are just some phrases that you repeat. I happen to like a version that is done by the singer Karen Drucker. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease, and may I be happy. And once you get centered within yourself, then you can turn it outward to the situation, to the people involved in the situation, and just change the I to you. And then you can go even further with that and bring the two of you together and say that may we be filled with loving kindness, may we be well, may we be peaceful and at ease, and may we be happy. There's no part of that where I'm acknowledging that this is not painful. There's no part about that where I'm acknowledging that the other person in the situation doesn't have any responsibility in it. But it's me acknowledging that I don't want to feel all the disturbance that's going on in my life because of this situation. I'd rather be filled with loving kindness. A very, very powerful practice. It's actually goes back to that first pillar that we were talking about, and it gives us a place to look at something from a wider perspective, from a more universal consciousness, from a place of equanimity within ourselves. Because again, like I said, with the loving kindness, we start with ourselves. And until you feel that peace and balance within you, you don't move on. You know, you've got to get it clear in your own consciousness first. You've got to get it clear in your own being before you can turn it outward. And so once you begin to do that, we get to that place, what the Buddhists call equanimity, which is balance, which is a non-reactive state in either direction. It just is what it is. So these meditative practices, they allow us to quiet our mind, to get away from all those distracting thoughts and feelings, so that we can actually get a different perspective on the reality that is happening right then and there, and give us an opportunity to respond to it in a more skillful way, in a way that brings us peace and joy instead of the disturbance that we're feeling. His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, the ability to be present in each moment is nothing more and nothing less than the ability to accept the vulnerability, the discomfort, and the anxiety of everyday life. These things happen to us, or happen for us. These things are different situations in our lives occur that get us angry, that sadden us, that disturb us, that cause us fear. And we can spend time stuck in those emotions, or we can begin to get to a place of more peace. So here's another limerick for you. At times I'm so mad that I'm hopping. My angriness sets my veins popping. I yell and I curse with swear words diverse. It can only be cured by my stopping. So, when we get to that place where we can actually stop all of those emotions that we're feeling, all that anxiety, all that stress, all that tension, all that anger, we get to a place where we stop that and just say, okay, I've had my moment. What's here now? Where do I go from this? Because staying in that moment just keeps us worked up. Again, this is changing our perspective about things. It's actually beginning to learn a little bit of humility. I can't fix this situation, but I can change how I react to it. It's applying humor to it. And it's learning to practice acceptance. And all of this takes practice and time and commitment and a willingness to be transformed. Otherwise, we're stuck mired in the muck and so forth that we can't really get out of. So, as I said, this coming Friday is St. Patrick's Day, and so I wanted to take some of this into a practice for you. And one of the things that we kind of like to do here in our center is a thing we call reverse offerings. And so reverse offering is just the exact opposite of what we do when we take our collection in a service. This is when we're giving something back. So I'm going to ask the ushers to pass out the reverse offering. There's a little bag with a pin in it in there, one for each one of you. So if you would take one and then pass the basket on, and we'll get those to you. We're going to use your little gift here as a spiritual practice I'm all about the practice. I am all about finding ways to actually take these things that are high and holy ideas and put them into real life work in my life, real action in my life to bring about that change. You know? As I said before, we can stay stuck in the bad feelings that we're having, or we can change how we think about them. Debbie, would you make sure you take the basket behind the cameras too? There's a few people back there. As soon as everybody has one. Remember those days when you were in school and if you weren't wearing green on March 17th, you got pinched? When I started teaching, we stopped doing that. By that time, I was like, yeah, we're not having that. The first couple years, we were pinning shamrocks onto kids. And instead of pinching each other, they'd take the pins out and stick each other. Oh. You can just imagine, right? Okay, so this is a shamrock or a three-leaf clover. It's not a lucky four-leaf clover, it's a three-leaf clover. These are synonymous with St. Patrick and mostly with Ireland. And the reason they're synonymous with St. Patrick is because he used it as a teaching tool. He taught the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, using a three-leaf clover. One petal represented God as the Father, one, God as the Son, and the third one, God as Holy Spirit. And then he said that the stem joined them all together into one unified thing. Now, in Science of Mind, our philosophy here, we have our own form of the Trinity. It's very much like the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. We use different names usually for them, but Father, Son, and Holy Ghost are absolutely perfect for us to use too. We have what we call the creative process, and the creative process has 3 stages to it. It starts in what we call mind, which could also be called Father, as St. Patrick would have used. It can be called Spirit, the divine, universal consciousness, love, intelligence. In fact, there are so many different names for it that in the first 4 chapters of our textbook, Ernest Holmes uses 88 different names for this thing he calls God. So it doesn't really matter what you call it. Find the thing that works for you. Find the words, the phrase that works for you for that moment, and don't be worried that if it changes. I have some friends, I have one friend who calls it Ta, T-A, which means the all. I have another friend that calls it Howard, Chris, and Grace. Our Father who art in heaven, Howard be his name. Chris for the Christ consciousness, and Grace because that brings in the divine feminine. Doesn't matter what you call it. Howard, Chris, and Grace. Yeah, we love that, don't we? So, and it's always all 3. It's not just like, dear God. It's always all 3 of them. Howard, Chris, and Grace. So, if we take our one petal on this, and it doesn't matter which petal you use, generally in our teaching symbol, mind is at the top of the teaching symbol, but the teaching symbol can also be turned on its head or sideways or anything else. It doesn't really matter the direction. So just choose one of these petals. And that's going to represent that universal consciousness, God, the living Spirit, Almighty, whatever you want to call it. Our second form of the Trinity is what we call soul. It can also be called things like the receptive part of spirit, receptive, and where the mind is more directive, the soul is more receptive. It receives the impressive spirit. And when it gets in there, it does what it does without any deciding whether it should do it or shouldn't do it, whether it's good, whether it's bad. It just does what it does. In our creative process, we call this the soil. And if you can imagine planting a seed into the soil doesn't care whether you put a tomato seed in there, an orange seed in there, a banana tree seed in there, whatever you want to put in there, it doesn't care. It's going to do what the soil does. It's not going to judge that seed as being good or bad. It's just going to do what it does. Now, there are things that we can do to the soil, that we can improve the soil in different ways. Like we can clear out the weeds and the sticks and the garbage and all of the things that get buried in the soil. And we can get those cleared out, so it makes it easier for our seed to grow. We can also add wonderful nutrients and water and things like that to bring in a healthier condition. We do that through our spiritual practices. We clear away the gunk, we add in the good things that are necessary, and that's how things begin to grow in a more healthy way. And so that's the second part of our Trinity, the soul. And the third part of our Trinity is the result, the effect, the body. As St. Patrick would have said, the Son. It is what happens, what is grown out of this perfect idea that gets planted into the soul, into the seed, into the soil, and then it makes something. So in our creative process, we take the perfect idea. I want a tomato plant. So I plant a tomato seed into my soil, and then I do what I need to do to make sure that soil is good and healthy, and voila, I grow a plant. That's our creative process in a nutshell. So we have our body here. So for your spiritual practice with that, put your fingers on the leaf that you've designated as body. Think of something that you want to bring into your life right now. Doesn't have to be big. It can be something. Maybe it's a challenge that you want to solve. Maybe it's an experience you want to have, a trip you want to take. Think of something that you want to bring into your life right now. That's represented on that petal that is for the body there. Okay. Now move to the mind petal. What is the spiritual truth about that? What is that perfect idea? So for instance, if I have a health challenge right now, my perfect idea would be wholeness. Then I know that nothing exists except this wholeness, this perfection, this divine flow of life energy through me. So if I want to go on a trip, the spiritual truth of that is everything is available to me at all times. That I live in a world of infinite abundance, that limitless possibilities exist. Those are spiritual truths. Okay? And for the third leaf, the soul, that's where we do our work. What limiting beliefs do I have about this? If I want to take a trip and I think I don't have enough money, that not having enough money is my limiting belief. So I need to do something to clear that out. And so I can do a lot of spiritual practices around that, and we have tons of them that are listed in our classes and our books, and you can even find them on the website. All you got to do is Google spiritual practices for abundance, and I guarantee you're going to get a lot of them. Find the thing that works for you. Do that practice. Clear out that soil and make that work. And then see what the results can be in your life. See how that changes. You can start any place on this petal. You can start with anything that you have. If you have a limiting belief right now that is very present in your mind, start with that. Okay, if this is my limiting belief, what is the spiritual truth about it? In the back of the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes has prayers for all different kinds of conditions that will help you get to that spiritual truth. We have licensed spiritual practitioners. That's their gift to you, is to know the truth. Call one up. The numbers are on our website. Call one up and ask them, what spiritual truth do I need to know if I'm feeling a lack and limitation, if I'm having a health challenge, whatever that is. They'll help you get to that spiritual truth. And then you do the work to bring more of the idea of the spiritual truth into your life and less of the limiting beliefs that you want to eliminate. And things will really begin to change in your life. This is how we transform ourselves. You know, when I began my practitioner training, I was taking the treatment and meditation class, and I looked at my life and I thought, okay, what are my challenges? And so at that time it was relationships, finances, and health. And so every day as I was driving to work, I did a treatment for those three things. And it was interesting to watch how those things shifted in my life. For my treatment about finances, I started with a spiritual truth that wasn't quite there, that stretched me just a little bit. And that was, I have all I need to pay my bills on time. And it made me stretch a little bit because, like, okay, but I'm not paying my bills on time. So is that true? Well, the truth is I have all I need. I just am not choosing to do it. So I worked with that, and it was amazing. Within like 2 weeks, everything was up to date. I thought, well, this is cool. So then I thought, well, let's see what I could do with it next. So I changed it to I have all the money I need to pay my bills on time and have money left over. And what happened was my bank account started to grow. I actually had money left over after each paycheck, which was an unusual thing for me in my early 40s. So then I went to, I have all I need to pay, I have all the money I need to pay my bills and have money left over to do the things I want to do and support the causes I believe in. And then I began the practice of tithing, and that shifted everything for me, because tithing is about giving from the consciousness that I already have enough. I'm not depleting myself. In this book, the Book of Joy, Desmond Tutu says, I don't think God's very good at math. He says, because no matter how much I give, God always makes sure I have enough, and more and more and more. He says, I don't think God can subtract right. He said, I should have less if I'm giving, but what I find out is I have more. And so it's been a wonderful practice to do that. So find those things in your life that are causing you some difficulties, some problems, and see if you can use a practice like this of looking at it. Again, what did we do here? We changed perspective. We looked at the same thing from 3 different angles, from that holy trinity of mind, soul, and body, and began to see what we can do to change things in our lives with it. So let's take this into prayer. So prayer is one of our most powerful spiritual practices. As I just said, I learned to change my life by changing the way I prayed. And so our form of prayer is called affirmative prayer. It has 5 stages. In the first stage, we recognize that one. Again, all of those names that I went through, all of those qualities of it. We are speaking spiritual truth about the divine. In the second stage of the treatment is based on the premise, if God is all this and I am one with God, then I am all this too. And then we call that stage unification. The third stage, we just speak spiritual truth about the condition that we're treating about. Fourth stage is to give thanks, because really thanks is the only prayer we ever need to do. And then we release. We let it go. So if you would, with me, just turn within. I'm going to invite the practitioners to stand and surround the sanctuary here with their consciousness. These beloveds spend a minimum of 4 years studying. And then they have to take a really big test and a licensing panel to get to the place where they are. Each one of our practitioners here has been in service to this community for, I think, a minimum of 3 years. You're the youngest, yeah? Or the newest? All right. So if you would with me, just turn within. I do that by closing my eyes and taking a breath. It centers me in my body, brings me fully present into this moment. And so right here and right now, I know that there is only one divine loving intelligence, one creator of all, that has brought forth everything into existence, that is the isness and the allness and the fullness of all life. I know that nothing exists beyond this one, and that this one is that creative, loving intelligence that shows up as unconditional love, as perfect peace, as abundance and harmony and humor. And because I know that there is only this one, I know that I am one with it. I know that all that I am, all that I have ever been, is a perfect and divine emanation of that creative love intelligence. I know that I am blessed with abundance and wholeness and perfection and love. And as I know this is true for me, I know this is true for everyone, because there is only one. And that each one of us is that perfect and divine manifestation of love. And so knowing this, I speak my word. Right here and right now, that I know that each one of us has within us all that we could ever need. That the perfection and the fullness of the divine is showing up beautifully and easily as each one of us. And I know that when we experience a challenge in our lives and turn to that truth shows itself up. It is magnified and multiplied, pressed down and running over. That is the very nature of who we are. It's who we've always been. It's who we will always be. Nothing but that perfect emanation of the divine. And how good it is to know this, how good it is to see it in action in this community, how good it is to feel it in my own life. I am so grateful, and I release this word into that divine, creative, love intelligence that knows no lack or limitation, that's always saying yes for the unfoldment of the highest and greatest good of all. I let it go, and I let it be. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. All right. Oh, I love to pray. All right. Now we're going to go into that time of sharing our offering. So if you would get your offering out, and as you prepare it, those of you that give electronically, we are so grateful for that too. We have so many different ways of giving. You can go onto our website and click on the link to donate, and you'll be taken to our donation processing site, and everything is done there. It's very secure. That's how I do my tithe each week. We have a text to give number that you are, I believe we have some handouts in the back with the text to give number on it that you can do. That's always easy to do on your phone, because we all have our phones with us all the time, right? And we now have a new way of doing it through Zelle. So those of you that are Zelle users, you can just send it to admin@csl.org, CSLGLV.org, and it will reach us too. So text to give and Zelle will ask you to enter your information and things like that. But other than that, it's pretty easy. So I'm going to bring David back up. He's got another song for us. And this is one of our newer songs, so we're really loving it. And ask the ushers to pass the baskets. There we go.
This song is called Energy Follows Thought, and it was written by the one and only Willie Nelson. So you might want to imagine me with a bandana and the braided pigtails, if that helps. Willie Nelson. Imagine what you want, then get out of the way. Remember, energy follows thought, so be careful what you say. Be careful what you ask for, make sure it's really what you want, because your mind is made for thinking, and energy follows thought. Your mind is in control, even when you do not know. And if you let it idle, ain't no telling where it'll go. Wherever you are sleeping and your dreams take you away, just go on with your dreaming and listen to what they say. And if you hear spirits talking, their wisdom can't be bought. You just apply it to your thinking, Energy follows thought. Justin on guitar. We miss you, Justin. Imagine what you want, then get out of the way. Remember, energy follows thought, so be careful what you say. Be careful what you ask for. Make sure it's really what you want, because your mind is made for thinking, and energy follows thought. Thank you, Willie.
Thanks so much, David. When Justin told me that David wanted to sing a Willie Nelson song, now I grew up with country music, so I'm really open to it, but I'm like, Willie? So I had to buy the album. So one of the other songs on there I was listening to the other day was, I'm going to die one day, but I'm not going to be there. Well, that's science of mine, too. All right, so before we leave, just a couple of announcements. We have lots of things happening. Make sure you check out our website. If you haven't signed up for our e-blast, see one of our people or one of our ushers, and they'll get you signed up for that. We get just a weekly e-blast to let you know what's happening, all of the things that are going on in our community. We're getting ready to start a new series of education classes, so that'll be coming out starting May 1st. We'll have some more information about that. I have a brochure being put together right now for that, so be announcing all of that in a few weeks. So just make sure you check out what's happening in our community right now. We have lots of small groups, ways that you can connect with people in a little more intimate setting, book studies and things going on all the time. So check us out. All right, I have one more limerick. There once was a gal from Nantucket. I bet you're nervous now, right? There once was a gal from Nantucket. Her laugh like a harp when she plucked it. She had trade jokes with the best while she laughed with the rest, and her joy for each one filled a bucket. Have a beautiful week. We will see you. Oh, I have one more thing to leave you with. I forgot. I have an Irish blessing since it's St. Patrick's Day. Make sure you get some, if you're into that, green beer and corned beef and cabbage. I will be making corned beef and cabbage myself, but that's beside the point. Anyway, may love and laughter light your days and warm your heart and home. May good and faithful friends be yours wherever you may roam. May peace and plenty bless your world with joy that long endures. May all life's passing seasons bring the best to you and yours. Have a great week, everybody. We have fellowship.